was actually through Instagram. But since that time frame, I've been able to follow her business as it is continuing to grow by leaps and bounds. Without further ado, I would like to bring on Miss Mica Coleman. How are you?
Hi, Catherine.
Listen, we connected originally through Instagram. We did business together, and then I'm still following you and how you're growing your company. And there's a lot of questions right now, within the business community. We know we're entering into tax season. Your business specializes in tax deed overages. And so we wanted to have a special segment tonight to bring on an expert such as yourself to kind of break down and just give us some golden nuggets for those of you that want the fullness of her educational experience. She does have a special platform for that. But tonight we're just going to kind of dissect components that you feel would be good for this platform on tonight. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, first of all, before we talk about your tax deed overages, talk about who is Ms. Coleman? When you started your business, why did you flow into entrepreneurship?
Well, interesting enough, let me just say a little bit about me. My name is Mica Coleman. I've been in real estate for 20 years. My degree is actually in health. I don't do anything in health education. I even have a master's in it. But I started this business because of my mom. My mom thought that I would be good at it, and she was right. And she invested in me. She had me go to my first seminar. And from there, I never looked back.
Mm. So you went to your first seminar. How old were you?
I was right out of college because I remember taking all my credit cards for one of them like $60,000 courses after
Mm-hmm.
I had just paid off all my debt. And my mom was
Mm-hmm.
looking at me like, I didn't bring you here to pay that type of money. But I was like, if he said I could do it, I could do it. And so, yeah, I was like right out, like maybe 2 or 3 years out of college.
Okay. And so you went to this seminar. What was it about that seminar that made you interested to go into this field?
Well, contrary to popular belief, what a lot of people don't know is when you graduate from college, you don't get that automatically high paying job, right? And so, what ended up happening was that made me be like, I could do this and I want to do it is because when
Mhm.
I graduated from college, all my peers didn't go to college and they were getting paid higher than I was, but I
Mhm.
was the one with the degree. And I was like, this ain't like what I was told. I thought once I get a degree, I could get this high paying job. And I kept going on these interviews and I kept denying them because they were like 12 and $15 an hour. And I'm like, I went to school. Like, why would you know, I just thought that was just crazy. And so when my mom brought me, she had already brought the program. This is like, back in Zig Ziglar, and they had a real estate, guru. And he did really well about like teaching you if you do this step, then you'll end up making this type of money. And like right, if you did all the steps, he encouraged you to do it before you got to the seminar, which I did. And
Mhm.
everything he said up until the point where he leaves you for you to come to the seminar actually happened. And
Mhm.
so, in the end result was he's like, you can make $100,000 a month, like something just outrageous. Meanwhile, at band camp, I'm trying to apply for these jobs for $12 and $15 an hour. And I'm like, I can make $100,000 a month and I'm 20 something. Like, I want to do this.
Mhm.
And so that's actually, I have to say, I was motivated by money. I was motivated by the freedom that it brought. I was motivated by everything real estate provided. It motivated me to put all my credit cards down after I had just paid off all my debt. And that's how my journey began. And my first deal out the gate, I made 80,000. I could have made more, but that was my first deal. So I made a lot of mistakes and I never looked back.
But I think you said a lot, even when it comes to the education system, right? So you mentioned you had the degree, individuals that didn't have the degree, the monies wasn't matching up right after college. And that's why I think it's such a, everybody's path is not a 4-year college. And there's so many opportunities out there to make wealth or create wealth through different trade opportunities. Tonight, you're specifically talking about tax deed overages, how to acquire properties, and you're going to kind of get into all of that and the selling of the properties. But for anyone watching now, watching later, I think a lot of times people will look at themselves, or some say, well, I don't have that degree. Someone have the degree, that doesn't mean the money is always going to match that. So find out what your passion is, find out what your skill set is, also couple that with an industry that you know is never going to die out, right? The real estate market is never going to die out. That is rock solid. But it's what avenue within the real estate industry you're going to tap into, because there's many different lanes that you can tap into. The lane tonight we're specifically talking about with Ms. Coleman is tax deed overages. So you said from your first deal, you profited 80,000.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
how old were you when you said when you did that first deal?
I was like 25.
Okay. And take us through the journey. So after that first deal, how did you continue to grow in the industry?
So basically I was like, oh, I like this. And then I thought, at 20 something, I was like, oh, I could double dip and get my real estate license. At that time, I did not have a real estate license.
Okay.
And I'm going to say, even though I've still been in a real estate, I'm still licensed in 2 states. I would say that's where I made the mistake. That was the fall of my demise, because I went into a realtor mode. And quite frankly, I think a lot of people think that they need their license too to
Mm-hmm.
the game, and you really
Oh, so
don't.
you don't. Okay.
Oh, and what a lot of people don't know is that when you get licensed, now you're held to the state standards of that licensing state, as opposed to if you weren't. So
Mm-hmm.
like if you're really trying to like invest in real estate, I would highly advise you not be an agent, because now you have to do all these disclosures and you have to disclose all these different things. And to be honest, I put off my investor hat and put on my realtor hat, and I started buying and selling houses like as an actual realtor. I still invested, but
Mm-hmm.
for those that think, being a real estate agent is like fun and fashionable, like what everybody see on Instagram, is really not that. Like I look at that and I'll be like, this is all hype.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, because if you really doing deals, you don't have time to be posting pictures. You don't have time to be like, you just don't have time. It's a lot of work. And so I started doing a full-time real estate agent. So I kind of backed off of the investment, because what a lot of people don't know about that is you're front loading all the risk, meaning like if you're doing fix and flips, you got to have the cash, you got to have the credit. And so I did it the traditional route, which is, front loading your cash or your credit or borrowing or doing hard money, all those things that they, teach you in the course.
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered when 2008, 2009 hit, when the fall of the market happened, that that was really the poor man's game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I learned really hard that like if you are going to invest in real estate, and I'm a realtor, right? So you would think I would have known the market. You would have think I would have known what was coming. I
Mm-hmm.
did see a downturn trend, but I didn't see it like what I saw.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah. And I had all my eggs in one basket. I had investment properties, I was buying and selling real estate for individuals, and I was doing loans for
Mm-hmm.
people. So like all my income was in one basket.
One. Mm-hmm.
And so I realized after that, I had to sell all my properties, and I realized I wasn't going to retire at 40 at that point, because I had to sell everything that I had built. And then I decided that if I was going to invest in real estate ever again, I will never use my credit and I will never use my own cash.
Mm. Okay. So
Yeah.
you're just getting into it. A couple things I heard you say. You don't have to have a realtor license to get into real estate investing. So that's one. For those that want to get into real estate investing, that's not a prerequisite. Now, do you think it's helpful though, going through the course?
No, no,
Okay.
I will preach all day long. And I'm saying this from experience.
Yeah.
Experience is your best teacher. I've been a realtor for 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I still don't know everything. Like there's things that happen that I would have never foreseen. And then what you study on the test is nothing like the real world. It's nothing like the transactional side, the negotiation side, the therapist side. Like, I mean, you wear a lot of hats as a realtor. The test doesn't prepare you. It's just like you go to school for 4 years, but they don't teach you how to budget a checkbook, or, teach you about profit and loss. They don't teach you everyday things, and that's why I feel like You know, I could get on and on about how the government set up these systems for us to just pay, thinking we need it when we don't.
Mm-hmm. So going into real estate investing, you started when you were in your early 20s, your first property, your first transaction, you profited 80,000. But then as you continue to grow into the industry, you saw things for what it is, right? So like fast forward to where we are now. What are some pros and cons that you can tell individuals that want to get into real estate investing, where they are? They may not have real estate investing background, they may not have the real estate knowledge, but they want to get into real estate investing. What would you say specifically regarding the tax deeds?
Okay, well, I would say first and foremost, have your end in mind. And this is just speaking from experience because, you know, they always teach us, you know, the gurus would be like, oh, get 10 doors or do this and you could make money. I made money, but nobody told me about no exit strategy.
Hmm.
So like my experience taught me, like before you even, whatever niche that you go in when it comes to real estate, know your exit strategy, know what you want, know your end goal, because then you could work backwards to whatever avenue you decide to go in. Now, the pros and cons of what I do now is I really don't have any cons except for the fact if you don't have the knowledge of how everything works, that
Mm-hmm.
you can, you know, get yourself in a pickle.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you do your research, which there's tons of research, I talk about so many different things on my YouTube channel, but I feel, in my opinion, tax deed and overages is low risk and you can make money without spending a lot of money. And the biggest thing of what I consider a huge pro is that you're buying these properties mortgage free. You do have to have cash.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on where you live, you don't need six-figure digits to purchase these properties. And
So no, that I mean that's powerful what you just said. Can you give it just pick like one example? Let's say somebody's getting started. How much, and I know this question is relative, how much, and you probably get this question all the time, like how much do you need to get started as into this industry, right? But give us a scenario, because I know you mentor, you coach other individuals going into this industry. Take us through a process where someone was just starting out. What was that experience like? What was the process like?
basically, depending on where the person lives. Now, some people, if they want to invest in their area, like I did have this one student, they were in California and they wanted to do fix and flips by way of tax deeds, but they had a real slim budget. And I was like, you're gonna have to come out of California. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he only wanted to spend like $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
And so I say that all to say that I believe, and I could fact check that you can buy almost anything on any budget. It may not be a property, it may be a piece of land, but you can get into the real estate game and own something for as little as $200.
Mm-hmm. And again, you mentioned something specific though, the client that you were working with, he was in the California market. And so you had an honest conversation with him saying you can do it, but it's probably going to need to be in a different market.
Yes. Yeah.
So that brings up a good conversation. So you don't have to buy in the market that you're living in.
No, not necessarily. No, not at all.
So with that individual, what did they start with? They started with 10K. Is that what you mentioned?
Uh-huh. Yes, they started with 10K. So I encouraged that individual to like go down south, like Alabama, Arkansas. But he wanted to do fix and flips. And you know, once again, it's like working backwards. And I said, well, what if you just buy some land that's worth, let's just say $1,000 and flip it for 10? So that
Mm-hmm.
way at 9, do that about 3 times and get like 27,000 with your 10, and now you got 37,000. So it just really depends on the strategy of what you're really trying to accomplish at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say I feel like tax deeds is a win-win situation if you know what you're doing. Because if you buy right, somebody's gonna buy it. Like, you know, I moved from California to Texas, and I moved here all on the premise of either everybody is sleep and nobody's woke, or I'm the dumb one.
Mm-hmm.
But when I moved here, I just realized not a lot of people know about it.
Mhm.
It's not a lot of people have heard about it. A lot of people have get